Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to this session of textual study of the Quran. Today we will be finishing off the remaining portion of Surah Anam. This surah, as you all know, is specifically addressed to the Quraysh. It is the first surah of the second chapter of the Quran, and its counterpart is Surah Araf, which we will start studying, inshallah, from our next session. This particular surah has made it evident on the Quraysh that the religious innovations that they had become entangled in and the polytheism that they had invented, and the Quran calls it a concoction, a fabrication, an invention, was something that was completely baseless. They had no proof for associating partners with God. And now we are finishing off this surah with this very important note that once the religion of Abraham has become absolutely clear to them, and the way they have totally disfigured it and corrupted it is also become evident. They should also now hear what the nature of guidance was right after Abraham, when the next book that was given, in the sense that it was a complete book, was the Torah and given to Prophet Moses. So we start off here. ثم آتينا موسى الكتاب تماما على الذي أحسن وتفصيلا لكل شيء وهدى ورحمة لعلهم بلقاء ربهم يؤمنون. This is the religion of Abraham. After this, we then gave Moses the book to complete our favor on him who was thorough, as an explanation of everything related to religion, and as guidance and mercy so that people believe in meeting with their Lord. So basically, these words are a portrayal of Moses in precisely the same way as we have the portrayal of Abraham in the words Allazi Waffa. And you see the words are Summa Ataina Musal Kitaba Tamaman Alallazi Ahsana, the one who was very thorough. And about Abraham, the words are Allazi Waffa, which means that who was very sincere, who fulfilled his promises. The purpose is to delineate the fact that God's favor was completed on him because he was worthy of it. When God chooses someone for prophethood, he chooses outstanding individuals who acknowledge their obligations to God's hidden and open favors and discharge them with thoroughness. So, as far as the next part is concerned, it says, وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لَعَلَّهُمْ بِلِقَاءِ رَبِّهِمْ يُؤْمِنُونَ, which means that as guidance and mercy. So he was given the book. Of course, the book here refers to the Torah, and it is said that it was guidance and mercy. Now, there's a little explanation to this, that guidance with regard to the objective and a mercy with regard to its consequences, so that people are guided in this world to meeting him and become worthy of his mercy and favors in the hereafter. So the start of this whole sentence can clearly tell you how this favor was something that God did upon Moses. He gave all the essential details that were required in the book that was revealed to him, which was the Torah. We know that the language of the Torah is Hebrew, and it is no longer preserved in its original language. It was totally lost 2 or 3 times, and later on we know that many centuries later, the prophet Ezra actually was one who reproduced it from his own memory many centuries after Moses, and it was written down. And precisely, it seems that this was the reason that the Jews of Arabia, they regarded him to be Son of God. So just as the Christians, they regard Jesus to be the Son of God, the Jews specifically, only of the Arabian Peninsula, not anywhere else, they regarded Ezra to be the Son of God. And this is something that incriminated them, and the Quran has pointed this out in detail. So about Moses, it is said that this book was given to him because he was thorough. He was someone who had proved himself to it. And the Torah actually has all essential details that are essential for the delineation of religion. وَهَذَا كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ مُبَارَكٌ فَاتَّبِعُوهُ وَاتَّقُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ أَن تَقُولُوا إِنَّمَا أُنزِلَ الْكِتَابُ عَلَى طَائِفَتَيْنِ مِنْ قَبْلِنَا وَإِنْ كُنَّا عَنْ دِرَاسَاتِهِمْ لَغَافِلِينَ. And now we have revealed this truly blessed book. So follow it and fear God so that you are shown mercy. It has been revealed, lest you say, the book was revealed to the 2 earlier communities and we had no knowledge of its reading and teaching. So the first thing that you can note is the word kitab, of course, refers to the Quran. And it is being said that after Moses, the complete book that was revealed was the Quran. And then it is said, Mubarakan. It is something which is blessed. And the word Mubarak has been used in the Quran at many instances for the Quran itself. And it becomes a source of irrigation to bring forth greenery and vegetation. The word Mubarak, actually, you can see, is used for rain, and rain that brings forth greenery, vegetation, lushness in the scenery around you. Now, it is this rain which energizes the treasure of seeds sown in it so that they can become lush green plants, and it gives it lush foliage after they have become dry and desolate. In a similar pattern, this word is also concealed, in this world is also concealed the metaphorical meaning that this Quran too has been revealed to bestow mankind with new life after its spiritual death and revive religious guidance after it has been adulterated with alien concepts. So the word Mubarak is something that has to be very, very carefully and cautiously understood, that it's a blessed book. It is a book that is meant to revive your hearts. It is meant to stir your souls. You need to attach yourself to this book. It is a book that connects you to God, but with the condition that you understand it, you follow it, you propagate it, and you make it your mantra. So this is something that we need to do. We should make the Quran our mantra. It should be read as much as possible, consistently, with a thorough understanding, and at various levels, including comparative study, a simple study, and of course, as has been discussed many times, that if you're able to memorize some of the last surahs of the Quran so that you are able to read them when you are reciting the prayer or offering the prayer, then that's also going to light up your prayer. So the fact that the Quran is a blessed book is something which is worth experiencing. That experience is something that can only be done if we have that deep connection with it. And then when it is said that it has been revealed, lest you say the book was revealed to the two earlier communities. So before them, we know that the two earlier communities were the Jews and the Christians. And we know that the Jews and the Christians, they both received a book. And this is a book which is something that we know, again, in the form of the Torah and in the form of the Gospel, that is something that we don't have at the moment. We don't have it them in the original language, but the Quraysh are being told that this Quran is now being revealed to you so that you don't regret, so that you don't put forth this excuse that our previous communities were given a book each and we were left bereft of it. So now this book has been revealed so that you don't present this excuse. It is a book that is now going to be presented against you and evidence against you if you do not fulfill your obligations towards it. And these two previous nations, the Jews and the Christians, we know that in their own respect, they were guilty of not preserving the texts of these books. They were lost to posterity, and then some changes were made as well. And at the same time, some of the historical aspects that were not meant to be mixed up with the text also ended up being mixed up with the text. And now we have a jumble of things in which divine revelation and history is mixed up. And therefore, it is essential that we read these books in the light of the Quran. So, وَإِن كُنَّا عَنْ دِرَاسَتِهِمْ لَغَافِلِينَ. So, you should not present this excuse that we were not able to read and teach a divine book. The Quran, once it has been revealed to you, it has removed this objection that you could have raised. أو تقولوا لو أن أنزل علينا الكتاب لكنا أهدى منهم فقد جاءكم بينة من ربكم وهدى ورحمة فمن أظلم ممن كذب بآيات الله وصدف عنها سنجزي الذين يصدفون عن آياتنا سوء العذاب بما كانوا يصدفون. Or say, had the book been revealed to us, we would have been better guided than them. Thus, a conclusive argument and a guidance and mercy have come to you from your Lord. Who can now be more unjust than the ones who reject the revelations of God and turn away from them? Those who are turning away from our revelations, we shall soon sternly punish them for this turning away. So now, once again, they are being reminded that they don't have any excuse left now. They have now been given the book, the Quran, in their own language, which is a big blessing of God, so that they are able to understand it, something that is always a requisite, that you are given the book that is something in your own language. So, had the book been revealed to us, we would have been better guided than them. This is something now which you can never say. You cannot say to God on the day of judgment that had a book been revealed to us, we would have been better guided than the Jews and the Christians. Because now that book that you are thinking or were thinking that you should have it, have that book, is now in your possession. So, فَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بَيِّنَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةٌ. So, thus a conclusive argument and a guidance and mercy have come to you from your Lord. Now, this word has been used for the Quran with regard to two aspects. The first is that the Quran is an evidence to its own self. The word bayyana, if you look, the word bayyana means a conclusive argument, something which is a radiant argument, that it is the book of God that does not require any external evidence. It's an evidence to its own self. Secondly, it presents its message with such clarity and certainty, and with such a strong rationale, and with such profound arguments drawn from human intellect and nature, that its addressees are left with no excuse to deny it. They are not left with any excuse to deny it. And فَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ كَذَّبَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ, who can be more unjust than a person who rejects the revelation of God and turn away from them? Those who are turning away from our revelations, we will soon sternly punish them for this turning away. So now that this book has been revealed, they are left with no excuse. They are left with no excuse to deny it. And if they continue to deny it, then as this verse says, that we shall soon sternly punish people who turn away from this book, because now they have been left with no excuse. هل ينظرون إلا أن تأتيهم الملائكة أو تأتي ربك أو يأتي ربك أو يأتي بعض آيات ربك يوم يأتي بعض آيات ربك لا ينفع نفسا أيمانها لم تكن آمنت من قبل أو كسبت في أيمانها خيرا قل انتظروا إنا منتظرون. Are they only waiting for the angels or your Lord to come to them, or a special sign from among the signs of your Lord to appear to them? The day such a sign of your Lord manifests, on that day the faith of a person will not be of any benefit to him who did not accept it earlier, or did not earn any good from his faith. Say, if you insist on this, wait, we too are waiting. So when it is said that in such a case a person's faith will not be of any benefit to him who did not accept it earlier or did not earn anything good from this faith, it is evident from this that only the faith which is professed while using the faculties of hearing, sight, and intellect, which has any value before God, not after directly seeing God and his angels and witnessing them. So this is something that's not going to be beneficial. These faculties have been given to a person so that he can profess faith by using them without demanding to first visually see things in which faith is professed. So this would be something of a naivety and something of a thick-headed person who demands that I will only believe something unless I see it. The Quran calls this attitude in which you profess belief without demanding to be seen or to be shown something as Iman bil Ghaib, which means that without seeing, you believe something not blindly, but because you know that whatever you are being asked to profess belief in is something that is absolutely evident. This is much like the fact that wherever you see smoke, you know that there's going to be fire. What would you think about a person who insists that unless I go and verify the smoke and see that there is fire, I'm not going to believe that there is a fire? Obviously, you know what opinion we would hold for such a person. So there is smoke, you know that the smoke tells us about the fact that there is a fire around it. So the Quran calls this attitude to be Iman bil Ghaib, that you profess faith not by demanding to go and see what you are required to profess faith in, but because it is evident by all methods and intellectual reasoning that whatever you are being asked to profess faith in is something that actually is going to lead you to salvation. And a person who does not have righteous deeds in his account should not expect any benefit from his faith either. So, and then it is said, if you insist on this, then wait, and we too are waiting. So, in other words, they are waiting for God's verdict, which He necessarily gives to the disbelievers of God's messengers once the latter have conclusively conveyed the truth. And this, of course, in the terminology of the Quran, is also called Itmamul Hujjah, which means now the truth is evident. And when a messenger and his companions have done what is required of them, and the stubborn and rebellious still do not pay heed, then they too have to wait for God's verdict, because the supremacy, the dominance of the truth is related to the manifestation of this verdict. The desire of destruction for opponents is not the real purpose. Remember, when God says that you wait and I'm also waiting, or we are also waiting, in the sense that the believers are waiting, it's not that the real objective of this wait is their destruction. The mission of the prophets of God is to spiritually purify and rectify the lives of people. They expend all their energy with concern, sympathy, and kindness for this mission. Those who have the slightest element of good in them accept this reformation from them, and those who become blind and deaf to these calls are actually dead in their heart. If their corpses remain on the land, they will be stagnated, and they'll stagnate and spread disorder. So, therefore, God orders for their destruction. And this is something that we have to understand. إن الذين فرقوا دينهم وكانوا شيعا لست منهم في شيء إنما أمرهم إلى الله ثم ينبئهم بما كانوا يفعلون. O Prophet, you have no relationship with those who, leaving this straight path to which they were guided by God, have created divisions in religion and have split themselves into sects. Their matter rests with God alone, so He alone will then tell them what they had been doing. Again, something that we have to fully understand, that إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا. Again, something what the Quran has said a number of times, that the straight path of God is the one which Prophet Abraham had taught them, and which the Quran has now once again made plain to them. Its followers were a single community. As we know from the Quran, كَانَ النَّاسُ أُمَّةً وَاحِدًا. At the beginning, mankind was one community. And then differences arose because they created differences themselves. And if the Jews and the Christians and the idolaters of Arabia have created these divisions in it and become its portions and sects, the Prophet should leave them alone and strongly adhere to it himself. He has fulfilled his obligation. If they do not accept, then he should merely ignore them. So, innama amruhum ilallah, then their matter must be consigned to God. Summa yunabbihum bima kanu yaf'alun. Then God is going to inform. Their matter rests with God, and He alone will then tell them what they had been doing. So, in other words, the Prophet should now not worry about them. He should just leave them alone, leave them to themselves. It is now God and them, between them, they'll settle the matter. God's going to settle their affair, and they'll get to know what they have been doing. من جاء بالحسنة فله أشر أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها وهم لا يظلمون. Then he who brings forth a good deed, to him will be rewarded tenfold, and he who brings an evil deed will be rewarded in proportion to it, and no injustice will be meted out to these people. So this is the minimum reward that has been mentioned. It does not negate other favors and blessings of God. We know that have been mentioned in the Quran, that at times deeds are rewarded 700 times their own original value. So it is the minimum reward, that every good deed that you do will fetch you 10 times the reward. But this is the minimum reward. We see from the Quran at times that it is much more also mentioned, and that is God's mercy. And that is something that we have to actually fully understand. So, قُلْ إِنَّنِي هَدَانِي رَبِّي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ دِينًا قِيَمًا مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Tell them, my Lord has guided me to a straight path, the upright faith, which is the path of Abraham's religion, who was fully devoted and was never among the idolaters. Never among the idolaters. You can see that this phrase occurs in the Quran several times. وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. That the fact is that these idolaters would often say that if they are associating partners with God, then this is the religion that they had inherited from Abraham. So they would ascribe it to their forefathers and to Abraham. And the Quran has to make this absolutely evident that this is a stark lie. Abraham never indulged in polytheism. He never did so. The Prophet has completed his duty. Now, whoever wants should adopt this path, and as for him, he has to tread it on it come what may. This is because his God has told him that he is the follower of the upright religion. So, in other words, these people, they should know that Abraham was always a follower of monotheism. He was never a polytheist, and that is why the Quran repeatedly says, وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ وَبِذَلِكَ أُمِرْتُ وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Say, my prayer, say, my prayer and my sacrifice, my life and my death, all are for God, Lord of the universe. He has no associate. Thus have I been commanded, and I am the first to submit. So again, this is something which the Prophet has been said, that you have to tell, Qul inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya, which means that we must understand that as far as this life is concerned, it's a very, very elegant comparison. A believer's life is a prayer. If we look at the verse once again, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. So, a very subtle comparison that the believer's life is prayer personified. And at his death, he desires that God accept the life and wealth that he was always prepared to give to his Creator. So the prayer is compared with life and the sacrifice with death. Look at the verse once again. Inna salati wa nusuki. So the salati part is related to mahyaya. My prayer is my life. And nusuki, which is my animal sacrifice, or the way I sacrifice an animal for the cause of God, that is like my death. In other words, it is at this end that I will be achieving my real goal. And actually, it is an indication that those who follow God's religion live for God and die for Him. There are no divisions in their lives. From the beginning to the end, they are in harmony. There is no associate of God, and we know La Sharika Lahu. And because of this, there is no associate of God in a person's life as well. It is meant entirely for God without any division, reservation, or exception, and it is purely and solely for God. So, La Sharika Lahu bizalika umirtu, He has no associate. Thus have I been commanded. Now, this means that this is my nature. And from God also I have been commanded the same. So, thus having commanded always tells us that, well, it doesn't mean that I have a different perception and I have been commanded something else. No, I have the same perception and I have been commanded as well that I am to submit to the one and only God. Kul أغير الله أبغي ربا وهو رب كل شيء ولا تكسب كل نفس إلا عليها. Ask them, should I seek some other Lord than God when He alone is the Lord of everything? I have fulfilled my duty. If you do not accept, then you should know that each person is responsible for what he earns, and no soul shall bear another's burden. So I seek some other Lord than God when He is alone the Lord of everything. Actually, this is meant to corroborate whatever answer has been given above, whatever has been said above. So we have to understand this, that as far as God is concerned, He continuously asks us that, should I seek some other Lord than God when He is alone, when He alone is the Lord of everything? So in other words, the Prophet is trying to tell them that they are left with no excuse. They absolutely are sure that God is one, but it is their own worship of their ancestors that is not letting them let go of their own beliefs. Otherwise, they would have done so, because the truth has become evident to them. And this is something that they have to understand. وَلَا تَكْسِبُ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ إِلَّا عَلَيْهَا. And each person is responsible for what he earns, and no soul shall bear another's burden. That you will be, when you face God, none of the deities will be there to save you. They would have just gone away. They will forsake you. In fact, this is something that we know from the dialogue of these people whom they would regard as deities, and between them they would just disown them. So وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى, that what a person does not bear any other person's burden. ثُمَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ مَرْجِعُكُمْ فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. Then to your Lord shall all of you must return. At that time he will tell you in what you have been differing. So once again, we have to understand that a lot of these differences that we find today between people are going to be settled in the hereafter. They might never be settled here. And we have to be patient in this regard. We must do our duty and do our best. And then if things still don't get resolved, remember, this is the assurance which the Quran has told us here, that a lot of differences will be settled in the next world. We try as we must and as we should. That is something that we must. But again, we must also know that in spite of trying, we might not be able to succeed. وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ وَرَفَعَ بَعْضَكُمْ فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ دَرَجَاتٍ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ فِيمَا آتَاكُمْ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ سَرِيعُ الْعِقَابِ وَإِنَّهُ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Bear in mind, it is He who has granted you authority of the earth and exalted one of you in status above the other, so that He may test you in what He has given you. Rest assured, O Prophet, very swift is your Lord in retribution also, and yet is very forgiving and very merciful. So, whether it is sovereignty of the earth, which is given to people in their capacity of human beings, or preeminence of certain nations and people over one another, we have to remember that all this is from God, and these are given to mankind as a trial and test. So, why should partners be associated with Him if no one has a share of blessing mankind with these favors? Similarly, why should people become arrogant and rebellious instead of becoming obedient for these favors when in the first place they were not even entitled to? And when it is said that Inna Rabbaka Sariyul Hisab, that your Lord in retribution, He is very swift in retribution, yet He is also forgiving and merciful. We come to a beautiful end to this surah in these words, that your Lord is swift in retribution. Inna Allah Sariyul Iqab wa innahu laghafurur rahim. In spite of being swift in retribution, He is very forgiving and merciful. We are this is like a note of assurance and attention given to the Prophet. The Prophet is told that he should rest assured that if these people do not accept his call, they shall soon be seized by the Almighty. And if they do, then remember, God is forgiving and merciful. If they sincerely trust Him and truthfully turn to Him, He will forgive their sins and engulf them in His mercy. So that is an aspect of God that all of us must keep in mind, that yes, He is stern in His retribution, but then if people turn to Him, He is waiting for them. He's like a shepherd who has lost a sheep, and He waits for that sheep to come back to the herd. And that is precisely what we find in the ancient scriptures as well, in the previous scriptures, that God is someone who is waiting for His lost sheep to return to Him. And when they do, or when they come back to Him, He actually celebrates this return. In a similar way, when we come back to God, when we return to God, He celebrates this return. It is something which makes Him very happy. So, dear viewers, with this last words of the surah, let us also make this commitment that whenever we do something wrong, whenever we make a mistake, whenever we sin, it's never too late to ask for God's forgiveness in life. It's never too late. We can start again. We can take a next breath, a fresh breath, in which we once again rise after every fall. God is not there to punish us. He's there to be merciful for us. So with these words, we come to an end to this surah. Inshallah, in our next session, we will start off with Surah Araf, the next or the counterpart. And for the moment, if you have any questions regarding the passage that we have just studied, you may raise them.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I do have two chat questions, Dr. Saleem. No raised hands at this time. So I'll be reading
Okay.
out the chat question to you. The first one is, verse 159 says about those who created divisions in their religion and became divided into groups. Does this also apply to present day Shia and Sunni divide?
No, it does not. I mean, basically, this is something which is being told to the Prophet that in the past, this is what happened, that those who created divisions in their religion And وَكَانُوا شِيًّا لَسْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ, you have nothing to do with them. Remember, this is the prophet which is being addressed. So this verse is very specific. However, I mean, the fact that Muslim Ummah has been divided into sects, or the Christians and the Jews were divided similarly, that's a reality in itself. But this verse is not referring to that, to this particular instance, because remember, it is the prophet which is being addressed. وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا لَسْتَ مِنْهُمْ. These were the groups, but O Prophet, you are not among them.
Okay, Dr. Saleem, I have another question in the chat. In verse 160, you mentioned this is the minimum reward and there is a mention of 700-fold
Right,
reward.
right.
Please share the verse and for what you are rewarded 700-fold.
So this is, I would not be remembering the exact number, but it is, it goes like this: مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ كَمَثَلِ حَبَّةٍ سَبْعَةِ سَنَابِلَ فِي كُلِّ سُنبُلَةٍ مِائَةُ حَبَّةٍ, which means that it's like when you spend something for the cause of God, and this occurs near the end of Surah Baqarah, the second surah, then your reward will be like 700 grains. I mean, the example is given as if there are 700 grains in a seed, and the way it is multiplied. So you'll find this being mentioned near the end of Surah Baqarah. Specifically, I think something around verse 240 or 245. This mentions this I would say a windfall reward.
Okay, I do not have any raised hand at this time, Dr. Saleem. If you want to continue with the idiomatic translation, I'm hoping that by the end of that, we'll have people asking
Okay.
questions. Thank you.
Okay, so we start off the idiomatic translation. As I said, this is the last portion of Surah Anam. So it starts off, Summa Atayna Musa, Summa then, Atayna we gave, Musa Moses, Al Kitab the book, of course referring to the Torah, Tamaman to complete, Alallazi on those, on he, Ahsan who was thorough. So we gave Moses the book to complete our favor. Tamaman ala alladhi ahsan, to the person who was ahsan, to the person who was thorough. Wa, and tafsilan as detail. Likulli, of every, shay'in thing. So we gave Moses the book to complete the favor on someone who was thorough, ala allazina ahsan, ala upon allazi who ahsan was thorough, and as a book that would provide details of everything. Obviously, in the context, it means everything that relates to religion, not everything of the world. Wa, and Hudan, as guidance. Wa, and Rahma, as mercy. La'allahum, so that they, biliqa'i, with the meeting, Rabbihim, of their Lord, yu'minun, believe. So we gave them this as guidance and as mercy, so that these people believe that they are going to meet their Lord. لِقَاءِ رَبِّهِمْ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Wa, and Haza, this, Kitabun, book, Anzalnahu, we revealed to him. We have revealed this blessed book. Wahaza Kitabun Anzalnahu, we have, and Anzalnahu, the word who is actually referring back to the book. It's the antecedent of this pronoun is the book. Wahaza Kitabun Anzalnahu, and we have revealed this book, Mubarakun, as a blessed book. Mubarakun, as a blessed book. Fattabi'uhu, so you follow it. Wa, and ittaqu, fear. Now, fear, of course, the word here means fear God. Fattaqullah, the word God is not mentioned, but is it obvious? Wattaqu la'allakum, so that you, turhamun, shown mercy, so that you are shown mercy. An, so that, or lest in this case, taqulu, you say, innama, indeed, unzila, revealed, al kitab, the book, ala, upon, ta'ifatain, two groups, min qablina, before us. So, antaqulu, lest you say that a book was revealed, innama unzil al kitab, ala ta'ifatain, upon the two groups, ta'ifatain, the two groups, min qablina, before us. As we just discussed, they refer to Jews and Christians. Wa, and indeed, kunna, we, an, from, dirasatihim, its teaching or their teaching, laghafilin, unknown. And you say that we were unaware of its teaching. So, in other words, this is what you might have said had we not revealed the book, that in kunna an dirasatihim laghafilin, that we are unaware of its teaching. Or taqulu, you say, law, if anna, we, unzila, revealed, alayna, upon us, al kitab, the book, lakunna, then indeed we, ahda, more guided, minhum, than them. Or had the book been revealed to us, I mean, this is again the second thing that they would say. Or you say that had the book been revealed to us, we would have been more. Ahda means more guided than them. Ahda minhum. So, indeed, ja'akum, come to you, bayyinatun. Bayyinatun means a clear argument. Min, from, rabbikum, your Lord, wa, and, hudan, guidance, wa, and, rahma, mercy. Faqad ja'akum, indeed, has come to you a clear argument, bayyinatun, clear argument, min rabbikum, from your Lord, wa, and, hudan, and, guidance, and, rahma, and mercy. Faman, therefore, who? Azlamu, more unjust. Mimman, than he. Kazzaba, who denied. Bi ayatillah, God's revelation. So, who can be more unjust than the person who denied God's revelations? Wa, and. Sadafa anha. Sadafa anha would mean who turned away. Sadafa an actually means to ignore something or to turn away from something. Ha is that thing. Sadafa anha would mean who turned away from those revelations. Sanajzi, soon we shall reward. Allazina, those who, yasdifuna, turned away, an, from, ayatina, our revelations. Su'al azab, a bad punishment. Bima, because, kanu, they, yasdifun, turned away. So soon we shall reward those people who turned away from our revelations with a very evil punishment because they turned away. Bima kanu yasdifun, because they turned away. Hal, if, hal, or we can translate this as a question. So, does yanzuruna, or do yanzuruna would mean do they wait, illa, except, an, that, ta'tiyahum, come to them, al malaika, the angels. So, do they wait that the angels should come to them? Or ya'tiya rabbuka, or your Lord comes to them. I mean, do they wait that angels come to them or your Lord comes to them? Or yatiya, come, ba'du ayati rabbik, some signs of your Lord. So are they waiting that angels should come to them or their God should come to them or some signs of your Lord should come to them? Yawma, the day, yati, comes, ba'du ayat, some of the signs, rabbika, of your Lord. So the day some of these signs would come, la yanfa'u, la, not, yanfa'u, benefit, nafsan, soul, imanuha, its faith. So when the sign actually manifests is them, the day that these signs actually come, la yanfa'u nafsan imanuha, and that at that time a soul will not benefit from the faith. Lam takun amanat, that soul, lam, not, takun, who could, amanat, profess faith, min qabl, before. So in other words, the people who have professed faith, when the sign comes to them, the sign of their Lord comes to them, their faith is not going to be beneficial. La yanfa'u, it's not going to be beneficial because they did not profess faith earlier. Lam takun amanat min qabl. Or kasabat, they earned, fi aymaniha, regarding their faith, khaira, or did not earn anything good from his faith. So such people who profess faith after seeing these signs will not be in any way succeed. Kul, say, intaziru, wait. Inna, indeed we, muntazirun, also waiting. So you wait and we are also waiting. Inna, indeed, allazina, those who, farraqu, divided, dinahum, their religion, dinahum, their religion, wa, and, kanu, they were, shi'an, they were divisions, they were divided, lasta, you are not, minhum, among them, fi shay'in, in any way. So, in allazina farraqu dinahum would mean that those who have divided their religion, and kanu shi'an, and they have become sects, Lasta minhum, you are not among them, O Prophet, in any way. Fi shay'in, in any way you are regarding any of these things, you are not among them. Innama, indeed, amruhum ilallah, amruhum, their matter. Innama, indeed, innama amruhum, indeed their matter, ilallah, towards God. Indeed their matter rests towards God, or rests with God. Summa, then, yunabbi'uhum, he will inform them. Yunabbi'uhum, he will inform them. Bima kanu, what yaf'alun, they were doing. So then he will inform them of what they were doing. Man, he, Ja'a, comes, bil hasana, with a good deed. Falahu, therefore for him, Ashru amsaleha, a reward of 10 times. Ashru, 10, amsaleha, times. So a person who comes with one good deed, he will be rewarded 10 times that good deed. Wa, and man, he, Ja'a, comes with bisayya, with one evil deed. Fala, he will not. Yudza, given reward. Illa, except. Mislaha, according to it. So he who comes with one bad deed, he will given 1 unit of punishment. So fala yudza illa mislaha would mean that he will be rewarded equal to that bad deed. So it's not that he will be penalized 10 times, the way it is the case with good deeds. Wa, and whom they, la yuzlamun, they will not be wrong. They will, no injustice will be, these people will be not dealt with through injustice. Qul, say, innani, indeed I, hadani, guided me, Rabbi, my Lord. So indeed my Lord has guided me, ila, towards, siratin, way, mustaqim, straight. So Qul, say, my Lord has guided me to a straight path. Deenan, qiyaman, millata Ibrahim hanifa. Deenan, qiyaman, deenan, of faith. Qiyaman, upright. Millata Ibrahim, the path of Abraham. Abraham. Hanifa, who was devoted. So it is the upright faith which is the path of Abraham's religion, who was totally dedicated. Ibrahim Hanifa. Hanifa means totally, entirely dedicated to God. Wa, and ma, not. Kana, he, minal, among, al mushrikeen, the disbelievers, and he was not among the disbelievers. Qul, say, inna, indeed, salati, my namaz, my prayer, wa, and nusuki, my sacrifice, referring to animal sacrifice, wa, and mahyaya, and my life, wa mamati, and my death, lillahi, for God, Rabbil Alameen, Lord of the worlds. La sharika lahu, la, not, sharik, associates, partners, lahu, with him. So there are no associates with him, there are no partners with him. Wa, and bizalika, about this. Umirtu, I have been directed. And I have been directed about this. This is what the Prophet is saying. Wa, and ana, I, awwalu, first, Muslimin, believers. And I am the first of the Muslims. I am the first of the believers. Qul, say, Allah, do you, other than God, abghi, should I find someone other than God? So qul is say, will, ghayr Allah abghi, should I seek someone other than God? The construction actually is kul abghi ghayr Allah, kul abghi ghayr Allah. So basically the verb has been deferred. Abghi is to seek or to find. So literally it would mean, should other than God I find, or in other words, should I find someone other than God, Rabban as Lord, wa, and huwa, he, Rabbu kulli shay, he is the Lord of everything. So should I find someone other than God as Lord, whereas he is the Lord of everything? Wa huwa Rabbu kulli shay. Wa, and la taksibu, does not, la is not, taksibu, earns, kullu, every, nafsin, soul, illa, except, alayha, what is upon it. So this is the literal translation. So idiomatically, it would mean that wala taksibu, not earn every soul except what is upon it, which means that each person is responsible for what he earns. Each person is responsible for what he earns. Wa, and la, not. Taziru, bears. Waziratun means someone who bears a burden. Wizra, the burden. Ukhra, of someone else. So, La taziru waziratun would mean no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of some other soul. No bearer of burden will bear the burden of another soul. Wizra ukhra, some other soul. The burden of other soul. Summa, then. Ila, towards. Rabbikum, your Lord. Marji'ukum, you will return. Fayunabbi'ukum, then he will inform you. Bima, about. Kuntum, you were. Fihi, in it. Takhtalifun, differing. So then to your Lord you will return, and he will tell you. He will tell you bima kuntum fihi takhtalifun, about what you were differing. Wa, and huwa, he, allazi, who, ja'alakum, made you, khalaifa, successors, al ard, of the earth. So he is one who gave who made you successors. And here the word khalifa is actually referring to their political authority. So the word khalifa, whose plural is khalif, it refers to a successor. It also refers to a person who has political authority or has the freedom to express that authority. So وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ, it is he who made you people of authority in the land. Wa, and rafa'a, raised, ba'dakum, some of you, fawqa ba'd, upon others, darajat, in status, liyabluwakum, so that he tests you. So it is he who has raised you some above the other in status so that he can test you. Fima atakum, in what he has given to you. Fima, in ma, that given to you, atakum. So that he can test you in what he has given to you. Inna, indeed, Rabbaka, your Lord, Sari, very fast, Al iqab, in reckoning. Indeed, your Lord is fast in reckoning. Wa, and innahu, he, indeed he, laghafur, forgiving, Rahim, merciful. And indeed, he is also forgiving and merciful. So, with this, we come to an end to the surah as well. And now, if you have any questions regarding the overall passage that we have studied, you may raise them.
So, Dr. Saleem, I have a question in the chat. I am not sure it is passage related, but also a general question. Can I just ask it since I don't have any raised
Yeah.
hands right now?
Okay. Please
So
go
it
ahead.
says in the verse 159, or many verses like hijab related verses are not applicable to us, then why are they part of the Holy Quran? If Allah the Almighty and Bearer of unlimited wisdom made these ayahs a part of the guiding book, they must relate to us.
So you see, this is a very common misconception that every verse of the Quran must relate to you. Why? Why should it relate to you? Because it's not a book that is concerning you on some occasions, because you see, it is narrating the history of the struggle of the prophets of God, and if through that struggle it gets connected to us. Other than that, we have to understand that 80% of religion in itself is something that is inborn. So we know about religion, which is right and wrong. 80% of humanity does not need the Quran for that, no scripture for that. It is something that you already have in your own self. For that 20%, again, there are things which are not even mentioned in the Quran, like worship rituals or the customs and etiquette, like many such things. So they are given to us through the established practice of the Prophet. So the remaining 5 or 10% is the Sharia, which is enshrined in the Quran. Other than that, we have a lot of history. We have people being referred to in the past. We have been told that, look, this is how these people behaved, and this is the fate they met. And if you continue with the way they do, or with the way they did, so your fate will not be any different. So you see, it's like telling us that this is how they proceeded, and the details through which they proceeded, of course, as I said, cannot be extended. So it's like a saga. It's like a story of the past events, in a sense that some of the things that these earlier nations did are being pointed out to us, and we are being warned that we must not indulge in the same vein. And as far as religion is concerned, as I said, very large part of religion is ingrained in us. Some of the parts have been transmitted to us through the Sunnah. The only thing which is left, of course, is the Sharia part, which we have find copious mention in the Quran. And also we know that the Al-Hikmah part, which means that we have many parts of the Quran that refer to moral teachings. Similarly, they refer to tenets of faith, but they are all interspersed. But as I said, the better part of the Quran relates to the history of the Israelites and to the history of the Ishmaelites.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. I do not have any raised hands right now. If anybody has any questions related to the topic today, the passage that Dr. Saleem just explained to us, if you can raise your hands, otherwise I will open the forum for general questions. Okay, I have a hand. Naushad
Okay.
Shafqat Saab, go ahead, ask your question.
Now, Dr. Sab, like in
Mhm.
Surah Baqarah relates
Mhm.
mainly to the Jews, and Surah Al Imran relates to the Christians. What would you say is the takeaway from this entire surah?
This surah relates to the Ishmaelites, the nation of the prophet, the descendants of Prophet Ishmael. And if you have a bird's eye view of the surah, you'll see that it points out the deviations that they inserted in the religion of Abraham. It tells us that it started off with the religion of Abraham in its pure way, absolutely pure, but they incorporated additions into it, innovations into it, and some centuries before the prophet was born, they actually added polytheism. Otherwise, it all started off with monotheistic practices. Abraham, Ishmael, and his descendants, they all followed monotheism. But some centuries before the arrival of the prophet, this is something that happened. And so, therefore, remember, this is not what Abraham taught them. Abraham was devoted and he was dedicated and he believed in one God. And whatever you attribute to him, he never did so. And if you would like to say to present any proof, then you have to present that proof because there is no proof actually. And then, of course, we know that a history of their religious innovations have also been pointed out, and they are being told that whatever they are doing is something that has absolutely no basis, and they still have time to mend their ways. They can still come out of their slumber. But if they don't, then very soon they'll be given that final warning, after which they will be punished. And this is something, as we'll go on in this chapter, the second chapter of the Quran, we'll see will be happening to them in the ninth surah, which is the fourth surah of this chapter.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem.
Thank
I
you.
do
Thank
not
you
have
very
any
much.
raised hands right now. May I open the forum for general questions?
Yes, please.
If anybody has any general questions, we do have some valuable time left. Now is the time to ask your questions. So, Dr. Salim, I don't see any hands right now, but I'll ask you a question. So, I remember in the beginning
Mhm.
of the textual study of the Quran, you had mentioned to us that there were seven main kind of beings who were addressed or mentioned in the Quran. God,
Seven entities, you
Prophet,
can say. The entities, of course, means
yeah,
that there is a
entities,
dialogue of these
entities.
personnel amongst the Quran is basically a dialogue of these personnel. The Prophet himself, we have God, we have Satan, we have the Jews and the Christians, we have the hypocrites, and we have the believers.
Right. So that is obviously a very obvious and a very clear demarcation for people who understand the Quran. I'm sure, like, of course, we need you to explain that to us, but for scholars, has there ever been any work done uh, to kind of, um, you know, whoever's speaking the verse to put like their name there? Has there ever been a thought
No,
about doing that
no,
or
that
no?
has not been done ever. And
Okay,
in fact, if as a teacher, I often I make my students do it because this is like a very good analysis that you can do of the Quran. That in a
right.
classroom, people who would like to study the Quran in depth, so they can actually do this. That they can divide a surah such that the dialogue spoken by these entities can be written in front of them the way we normally do in our own human plane, and that makes the surah a very comfortable reading.
Right. Okay, I have a chat question. There's a mention of an evil jinn in the Quran. Do they interact with humans or can they bother them?
This is not the topic of the Quran. We don't know anything how the jinn interact with the Quran. The Quran does tell us that there are evil jinn, and also it tells us that they whisper evil suggestions in our soul, just as human beings whisper evil suggestions, and that's all. How they can come and possess us, or how they can come and interact with us, the Quran is absolutely silent.
Okay, Naushad Shafqat Saab, please ask your question.
Yes, Dr. Sab, just wanted to know about the azan on Fridays. Many
Hmm.
mosques that you hear, they give the azan for Zohar prayers at 1 o'clock. But on the day of Jummah, for the Jummah namaz, they don't give that azan and they give it somewhere very close to the namaz. while the others, they usually give one azan first and then later follow it up with another azan. And before I leave, sir, just on what Bisma asked, there is a group which has recently posted a dialogue type of presentation of the Quran. I'll see if I
Hmm.
can find it and I can send it to her,
Okay.
where there are characters given and they
Hmm.
speak out their dialogues.
So this azan thing is something that was the second azan was something that was added in the time of Caliph Usman. It's just a call before the actual azan to let people know that the time of the prayer is coming up. It's like just letting them know that the time is near, because we know that in his own times, Caliph Usman's times, the population had expanded. Medina had become a big cantonment as well. So the azan, which is given as a supplement to the first actual azan, is just meant to let the people know that they should be aware that the time for the Jummah prayer is approaching.
So thank you everyone for joining us today for this wonderful session, and inshallah we'll be opening up on Saturday for another session, and then of course textual study on Sunday. Khuda Hafiz everyone. Thank you Dr. Saleem for your valuable
Thank you.
teachings to us today.